Okay friends, before we get started on this job, I just want to cover one thing. You want hands and eye protection, of course. One last thing, it's kind of a tech tip. If you can have your fuel level as low as possible for this job, it's going to help you out. Let's get started. Okay friends, one of the first things we need to do here is disconnect our negative battery terminal. Something that I want you to think about is with your battery, you want to make sure you have a full charge. If your battery is weak, you might have an issue after you've done your installation. Set that aside so it can't make connection. The next thing we need to do is remove fuel pressure from our system. Right up along your driver's side fuel rail, you're going to see this little cap. Go ahead and remove it, and then you're going to find a pressure valve right there. Take a nice rag, go around it, and then go ahead and press in on the center of the valve. There we are. I relieve pressure. Now I'm going to go ahead and make sure I put that cap back on because you definitely don't want to forget it. The next thing we need to do is locate it underneath the vehicle. We're going to go ahead and spray down our mounting hardware where our straps are that hold the tank to the vehicle. And then of course on the other side, we're going to go ahead and spray down the area where the clamps are. We want to make sure that those are nice and lubricated and they'll come off of there easy peasy. Okay, so now we need to go ahead and loosen up those clamps that are holding our hoses to the fuel inlet. Next, we're just going to take a nice pick and just try to come in between the hose and the piping itself. This is going to help break it free so we don't have to worry about damaging anything. Go ahead and remove your hoses. You'll probably notice that the main inlet does not want to come off at this point because what we need to do is lower the tank down and slowly draw it off. Now the next thing we need to do is find a jack that's going to have something nice and level and flat on the top so we can apply a little bit of pressure to this fuel tank, and that way there we can remove our straps and start carefully lowering this down. Now for the forward bolt, what you're going to notice is you more than likely have a bolt coming from the bottom and a nut up along the top. Go ahead and hold on to the top and remove the lower aspect. Watch that strap, don't let it potentially hurt you. Let's do the rear one. This one should be a stud with a 15mm nut. Let's go ahead and pull these down, remove this shield. Okay, let's get these down a little bit. At this point, what we're going to need to do is slowly start to bring our fuel tank down. You want to be careful because it's a nice long fuel tank, so you want to make sure that the fuel doesn't tip to one side and potentially fall over and or hurt you. All right, I've got this coming down slow. Something to think about is that you have your fuel filler neck that's still connected on the other side. So we want to make sure that that's drawing off of there and we're not just ripping the tube out of the body of the vehicle. Okay, let's slowly bring this down a little bit more. Remember that there's still lines and wiring connected along the top. The next thing we're going to do is disconnect our electrical wiring harness. Looking at the red area, that's a lock. You need to pop that lock and then squeeze this tab and separate the two pieces. I'm just going to come with a screwdriver. There we are. That feels good. Go ahead and squeeze your tab. Separate the two. I always like to take a peek to make sure there's no issues with my electrical connector. This looks great, set it aside. Next, we're going to remove the hose from this area right here. There we are. So now coming from the driver's side, if I was to look, I can see a nice little green tab on my last remaining fuel line. Go ahead and press in on that, and then you should be able to draw this off of here. I have to block some of the dirt out of there. Go ahead and push on that tab, give it a nice twist, and carefully draw it off. Fuel might come out. There we are. The next thing we need to do is get our straps out from under here. So I'm just going to go ahead and move them and twist it, and they should want to unlock. There we are. You can see there's a couple little hooky-doos. They just fit up into that square. Let's go ahead and lower this down now. Awesome. Now this is going to be easiest on the ground. The next thing I'm going to do is just take a couple rags and I'm going to put it right inside here. This is going to help keep the dust out, and it's also going to keep the vapors in. Now the next thing that we're going to do is going to be super important. You want to make sure that you get all this crud off of here because any of it that falls into the tank could potentially be an issue down the line. Now before we go ahead and take our fuel pump out of the fuel tank, what we need to do next is go ahead and remove this right here, and then we're going to get this wiring off of there as well, because of course that's going to cause an issue. Alright, so let's go ahead and try to get this off of here. It's actually kind of pressed in there and it has a nice seal on it, so I'm just going to use this little tool right here, try to get under and try to pry it up and out of there. There we are. Now you of course need to check your seal and make sure it's not damaged in any way. This one looks great, but when I go to install it, I'll show you what I'll do. Alright, now that we have that out of the way, we want to be very careful not to make any sparks, because of course this is open and there's fuel inside. Let's go ahead and bonk this little lock right here. We're going to try to break it free, so then of course we can get this out of here. Squeeze our tab, and then I'm just going to try to pry this off. We'll set that aside for recycling. Next, we're going to take our little punch here and a nice rubber mallet. We don't want anything that's going to make a spark. And we're going to turn this counterclockwise. Something to think about is that your fuel pump is going to be spring-loaded inside here. So once it breaks free, you might potentially feel this pop up, so don't get too nervous. Okay, so that broke free. Let's give it a little wiggle. There we are. Take your lock, inspect it, make sure it's not broken or damaged in any way. If it needs to be replaced, now's of course time to do it, because you need to have a good seal for your fuel pump to your tank. The next thing we're going to do is go ahead and take our pump and we're going to put it into a recycling receptacle, because there's going to be fuel in it and we want to make sure it doesn't go to the ground. Right here's your fuel level sensor. And of course, if you're looking at the bottom of the pump, right here, this is where you're going to see where that initial fuel filter is. So if you see any gunk on that, you know that that's an issue. All right, friends, now the next thing we need to do is do a quick product comparison next to each other, because of course you want to make sure you're dealing with the same part. You want to make sure you have your fuel pressure regulator right up along top, as we do. You want to make sure you have your connector up here, and of course the boot on there. There's supposed to be the hole there because the part that we removed. And aside from that, what you're going to notice in your TRQ kit is it comes with a nice brand new seal, which is all important, and of course the electrical harness that you're going to need as well. With all that said, let's go ahead and get ready for our install. Okay, now let's go ahead and go over to our tank and remove that seal. I like to give it a quick look over just to see if there's any issues. We're not reusing it, but it couldn't hurt to take a look. We'll set that aside. The next thing we need to do is, of course, clean up this area. Go ahead and use a nice rag and wipe it down. Try the best you can to keep any dirt or debris out of the inside of your tank. Let's go ahead and take our seal. We're going to line it right up on there, and it should sit in perfectly. That feels great. Let's go ahead and slide this down. Watch for that arm. As this goes down, you want to make sure that your seal isn't rolling over. So now before I go ahead and push this down any further, you want to go ahead and check that seal. Make sure it's not rolling over and it's not falling into the tank anywhere. And then slowly continue pushing this down, all keeping in mind that this needs to be facing towards the driver's side of the vehicle. The next thing we need to do is put our lock ring on. Just kind of push it. As you're putting it on, you want to make sure that you get it as level as possible. You definitely don't want to try to cross thread this, because then you won't have a good seal. Find the first. There it is. Let's go ahead and make sure that that's nice and tight. Perfect. Double check to make sure it's seated all the way around and it's as level as possible. Now let's go ahead and take our new wiring. Make sure your lock's undone. Squeeze it on there, and then of course click it in. Give it a nice tug. Now the next thing we need to do is go ahead and get this off of there, and then we're going to inspect that as well. You want to make sure it's in good working order. This looks great. I'm just going to take it, I'm going to go right along like this and start it right into the groove all the way around. That feels good. Clean that down, and now I'm just going to use a tiny bit of grease or lubricant, whatever you might happen to have. Put it around there, and that's going to help make it so this can go in nice and easy. There we are. Perfectly situated. At this point, it looks as though we're ready to start installing back into the vehicle. Let's go ahead and start putting this back up into the vehicle here. Just pay attention to your hoses. Make sure you still have coverings on them. And then, of course, once we get high enough, we're going to pull them so they come up and over the frame. Okay, let's go ahead and connect in our wiring here. Give it a nice click. Lock it. There we are. Let's go ahead and reconnect our fuel line. Listen for that click. Give it a nice tug. And then, of course, don't forget your little evap line here. Push it right on there. Make sure it's nice and secure. Let's continue going up. So now, of course, we're going to put our strap back in. Awesome. Push this into position. Go ahead and jack it up so it's maxed out. Let's let's go ahead and get this shield back up. I'm going to start with the rearward strap because all I need is a nut to hold it. Now let's go ahead and reconnect our front. Let's go ahead and get our rag out of here. Now, of course, we're going to get our hose back reconnected. Just wiggle that. It should come right up. We'll do the same to the other one. Perfect. Go ahead and grab onto those clamps or replace the clamps if needed, but you need clamps. Tight. Tight. Okay, friends, now the next thing we need to do is get back underneath the hood. We're going to reconnect our negative battery terminal. One thing I want to make sure you understand is you definitely don't want to have any fuel vapors in the area or fuel on your hands. Let's go ahead and make a connection. Just remember it might arc a little bit. There we are. Go ahead and push this down as far as it'll go. Now, of course, you're going to make sure you tighten it right up. You want this to be nice and snug so there's no way it can move around. Perfect. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is inside the vehicle. We're going to go ahead and take our key, turn it 2 clicks to the on position, wait until that pump primes the line. Turn it back off, then go ahead and do it again and start the vehicle. Here we go. Well, that sounds nice. Now we're going to, of course, check for some leaks. You want to make sure that you don't have any leaks anywhere, and then we'll go ahead and take it for a road test.